Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public. Good evening to the wonderful people here on Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those who listen throughout the Caribbean. A special evening to our friends and family in places like St. Martin and Anguilla, in Montserrat and Antigua. Of course, those who are in the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands, and those who are listening in Puerto Rico and elsewhere. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States and Canada, as always, and those in the United Kingdom, wherever you are. Good evening to you. My name is Mark Brantley, and I am here this evening to bring to you something that we feel is of interest. The music is still playing. Could we cut the music? Thank you very much. Okay, something that we think is of interest to you as we engage in what is clearly a campaign season. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I had the privilege of addressing the people of Nevis yesterday, I think it was, on the issue of the increased salaries. Increased salaries were announced by the Dr. Timothy Harris on St. Kitts, and of course he made his announcement for workers of the federal government. Now, I was a little surprised that a lot of our people seem not to understand that the civil servants in Nevis are employed to the Nevis Island Administration. They are employed to the NIA. They are employed to the local government in Nevis. It is the responsibility of the NIA to pay its workers on Nevis. And so every month we have to find what is just over $8 million to pay our workers on the island of Nevis, those who are salaried, those who are on wages, those who are part of the permanent establishments, and those, of course, who are non-established workers. We also have to pay our pensioners in Nevis. That is the responsibility of the NIA. It therefore means that when announcements are made on St. Kitts, they don't necessarily extend to the island of Nevis. I sought to explain in my speech, which was a short speech, but intended to convey what the reality of the situation is here on the island of Nevis. And the fact that we have a huge disparity between Bastia and Charlestown in terms of our fiscal ability, not based on any better performance of the island of St. Kitts in terms of its economy. No, it's based on one thing and one thing only, that the island of St. Kitts has access to billions of dollars in citizenship by investment money. Billions of dollars that are flowing into Bastia from the sale of the St. Kitts Nevis passport. We on the island of Nevis have made the argument time and time again that the St. Kitts Nevis passport is a joint asset, that it belongs equally to the people of Nevis as it does to the people of St. Kitts. But the leadership on St. Kitts has time and time again determined that it is St. Kitts money, and anything that they give to Nevis from it is somehow a gift, budgetary support, their help in Nevis. we on the island of Nevis have said, no, you're not helping us, you're not giving us a gift, it is not budgetary support. We are getting what we are entitled to, and in fact, we are not getting the full amount to which we are entitled. Now, I have seen a lot of confusion, it appears, particularly among the opposition in Nevis, and I'll get to them in a minute, where they're seeking to propel this notion that, oh, we're squandering money in Nevis and all of that, missing the point entirely. That the issue is Nevis getting what Nevis is supposed to get? And I don't care whether people like me or they don't like me. That's neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned. My fate as a politician is in the hands of the people of St. John's and St. Paul's. St. John's locally and St. John's and St. Paul's federally. And those are the people who ultimately will decide whether I'm acceptable to them and they want my leadership or they don't. And I've always said that whatever they decide, I am fine with, because I respect the electorate. So I don't get concerned with those who seem to have a personal issue with Mark Brantley. They have a problem with me cooking at home for my family. They have a problem with me wearing bright socks. They have a problem with all kinds of nonsense, to put it bluntly. So because they have a problem with me, it seems they are unable to grapple with the issue that this is not about me. This is not even about CCM. This is about the island and the people of Nevis. And I have said repeatedly that it is for the people of Nevis to stand up on some of these issues and to speak with a single voice, that we demand what rightfully belongs to us. Let me use that language again. We demand what rightfully belongs to us. Now, I don't understand what is so difficult about that. Because whoever sits in the seat of Premier tomorrow will have to grapple with that very same issue. And if Nevis continues to be deprived of what properly belongs to Nevis, the result of that will be that you will always have somebody in Bastia who's going to seek to embarrass the island of Nevis and the Nevis Island government. And what do I mean when I say that? And it is simple. We have at the federal cabinet and indeed at the Nevis Island cabinet been talking about salary increases. We understand in Nevis in particular, we asked our public servants to tighten their belts, as in fact we in the government and in the cabinet did as well. I did not take a salary in Nevis for 20 months, for example. We thought that these things were important to demonstrate that we all understood the difficulty that the island was undergoing and the economic hardship that so many had been experiencing as a direct consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we asked our people, please, let us tie our belts together. In every sense, let us suffer together, because things are hard. We have announced in Nevis just in March that as of April 1st, our increments and promotions, which had been frozen to try and allow us to deal with the realities of the income drop that we have experienced, that we had announced that now things were easing and were getting a little better and we were resuming some sense of normalcy, that those promotions and increments would resume as of April 1st. We had the issue of salary increases to be discussed, yes, and was under discussion, yes. I made it very clear, ladies and gentlemen, that the issue of the actual amount being 10% and the issue of retroactivity of that amount, that there was absolutely no discussion with my office as Premier of Nevis and as Minister of Finance in the Nevis Island Administration. I liken this way, that your neighbor announces that tonight he or she will have steak and lobster for their children. You're next door, you don't have steak and lobster money. You have sardine money. But your children hear the announcement, and so they say, oh, well, next door getting steak and lobster, so we should get steak and lobster too. And the neighbor has made the announcement because the neighbor understands the psyche of people. And so the neighbor understands that if the say it out loud that their children will be getting steak and lobster, that your children will start to say, well, we expect steak and lobster too, knowing that in your household you only have sardine money. Now, I am not going to sit here tonight and pretend. I have never sought to have a political career based on pretense. I've always been honest and direct with our people, always. Not sometimes, but always. And I'm here to say tonight that the machinations that we're seeing in Bastille are calculated to seek to embarrass the Nevis Island administration. And I'm sure they're not yet over. I am already hearing that there'll be other giveaways, because the approach seems to be now that fiscal sobriety and propriety is just thrown to the window. We have someone who understands that he has no pathway back to the seat of Prime Minister, none whatsoever. He neither has friends, acquaintances, nor anyone else who's minded to support his bid to be Prime Minister again. And so he understands that he is in his last dance. And it seems that some people will dance gracefully, and as the band stops playing, they exit the stage. Other people who are so preoccupied with self and self-aggrandizement that even when the band stops playing, they still want to be on the floor dancing. And when the lights start to turn off and the people start to lock up, they say, you know something, I'm going to mash up the dance, mash up the whole place, mash up the bar, because the dance is over and they know that their hour in the sun is at an end. We understand what is going on. Our people understand what is going on. And so for me, ladies and gentlemen, as the Premier of Nevis, charged to lead the island of Nevis in a sober and sensible way, am I to go and borrow money and plunge the NIA into further debt so that I can keep up with the Joneses? Am I to go and borrow and plunge Nevis into further debt so that I can curry favor with the electorate? Or do I have a higher responsibility, not only to the public servants, but to all of Nevis? Not only to the people who have the privilege of working for the government, but to those who work at Rams as well, and the waitress at the restaurant as well, and the gentleman who's working at the little bar as well, and the taxi driver and the busman as well, bearing in mind that there are many out there who did not earn a single penny during the pandemic. I can think of all of those who rely on tourism for a living. Our public servants have been in a privileged position that all during the pandemic, through lockdowns, through all that has happened, we ensured on the island of Nevis that our public servants were paid on time and in full. How many of our brothers and sisters out there could say the same? How many taxi drivers could say the same? How many people who vend could say the same? What about our fishermen, many of whom had lobsters? No market because the hotels were closed. As a government, it is my responsibility as the head to look out for all of Nevis, not only a certain segment, but all of Nevis. And sometimes difficult decisions have to be made, because we live in a community where sadly we get the response sometimes from some that once I really don't care about the rest. So if I'm already getting $500, I don't really care that a youngster coming out of sixth form is looking for a job. That's not my problem. I want you to pay me $700. And then when I get to $700, I want you to pay me $1,000. And if that means that that little youngster can't find a job, that's their business. We have that sentiment. And I am saying that as the leader of Nevis, and as the leader of government in Nevis, elected for all of the people, that we have to make decisions that are prudent and sensible. And I'm not going to engage in some drunken sailor behavior, just get on shore and therefore seeking to spend what we don't have in order to curry favor with the electorate. I don't think that that is the prudent approach to handle the leadership of this island of Nevis. It makes it even worse that, going back to my neighbor analogy, your neighbor owes you money. Your neighbor is not paying you the money that the neighbor owes you. The neighbor is in fact using the money that he owes you to buy lobster and steak for his household. You have sardine money, but your neighbor is saying, lobster and steak, ball it out the window to the neighborhood. And your children start to say, well, we want lobster and steak too. Your neighbor understands, and in fact it's calculated to put you under pressure. And I am aware, ladies and gentlemen, that there was some chatter among Dr. Harris and his team. Oh, let them deal with that 10% retroactive. The retroactivity alone would have cost the island of Nevis and the NIA almost $4 million. We would have had to find just to pay the retroactive. That has nothing yet to do with the 10% increase. And so we had to look at this matter seriously. We want to help our public servants, but we also have to appreciate that we have to help others as well, especially in a situation where the island is still trying its best to recover from COVID-19. People are out there still struggling. People are still out of work in some instances. Four Seasons and all of the big employers are not yet back to full strength. So we had a decision to make, and it was a difficult decision. We sat in the cabinet here in Nevis, and in a sober and thoughtful way we discussed this matter. What can we do, given the realities of the Nevis situation in terms of our revenue? Given the fact that for nearly 2 years we had to borrow to maintain the very same public servants, to, as I like to say, keep the lights on, maintain our roads, keep our hospitals and our clinics open, pay our staff. We had to do that. So what do? Because we have a reckless individual in St. Kitts who knows that the dance is over and decide that they're going to destroy the dance hall on their way out because they have no sense of grace. So they can't just leave and say, well, the people are done with me, so I am gone. No, they're going to mash it up. So should we mash up Nevis as well? Now I know there's some out there, and I've had some calls and people say, man, pay the money, wherever you find it, find it. Because this is election season and you don't want people vexed with you. But is that what we want in terms of management of the island of Nevis? Would that be leadership that seeks to look out for everyone? So we sat down and we had a very serious debate and discussion in the cabinet. We naturally had a concern because we understand human nature. And at the end of the day, with the advice of our technical team, we said, listen, what can we do that, one, shows our appreciation to our public servants, whom we asked to tie their belts with us and who did, but at the same time, two, doesn't force the NIA to go back again to the banks to borrow more money. What could we do? And so we discussed different scenarios. Some suggested that we try to see if we can pay the 10% but not the retroactive. Some suggested that perhaps we go and borrow and see whether or not we could somehow work it out through debt. And others suggested, listen, why don't we do something that is sustainable, something that we could afford, and something that doesn't force us to go back to borrow more money. And so we decided at the end of the day that we will offer not 10 but 15% to our public servants. But we will do so in increments. And so we decided that what we will do is to offer 5% immediately, retroactive to January, another 5% on top of that in January 1st, 2023, and a third 5% on top of that in January 1st, 2024. And so by spreading it over 3 years, the NIA is better able to manage the impact of the salary increase. To me, that's prudent management. That is like when you go to the bank and the bank gives you a mortgage. They don't tell you you have to pay back $100,000 at once. Most of us wouldn't be able to do that. They tell you, over the course of this period of time, you pay $1,000 a month. Because you can manage that. And so we're trying to get relief to our public servants, but in a way which is not reckless and callous as we're seeing in Bastille, but rather in a way that is sensible and prudent and allows us to manage the affairs of Nevis in a sensible way. Because we have to recognize that we have to also look out for the rest of Nevis. We also have to have programs in place to assist others, not only those who happen to work for government, but others out there as well. And many of them have called me and said, well, Mr. Brantley, are we also going to get an increase? I'm working at TDC all these years. I'm working at Hosfords. I'm working at Rams. Are we also going to get something? The increase that we're seeing in prices around the island affect everybody. So I think that we need to start to see ourselves in a different way. That it's not only about me. It's not only about my family. It's about all of us. And all of us have a responsibility to each other. And so the government sat down as a cabinet and we decided that even the blind, even Stevie Wonder can see what it is Timothy Harris is trying to do. We understand. And as I said, I'm told he's not yet done. So expect more giveaways are going to be announced. But he understands that when he tries to give away something from the Treasury in St. Kitts, and the Treasury down there is flush with cash, CBI cash, not coming from any St. Kitts Nevis revenue in terms of the economy, it's CBI money. That's what he's spending. Douglas told us that when he left 900 million in the bank. And since we have been in office, as somebody said to me, using the expression I hadn't heard in a while, it's been put. Because over there, the money keeps rolling in. Over here, on the other hand, I'm sorry, you're getting in dribs and drabs, hawks and herons. That is what is happening. So he understands, one, he's trying to curry favor with the electorate in St. Kitts. But he also understands that when he makes these types of announcements without any consultation or discussion with Nevis, he also understands too that he's putting pressure on the Nevis Island administration. And that is why I refer to it as cynical. Because the cynicism that's involved is him knowing that he's withholding the money that Nevis is due, and at the same time seeking to increase the burden on the NIA. That is what has been happening. And I think our people just need to open their eyes clearly and understand. Now, to my amazement, several people got in touch with me and said the NRP, and I said I'll get to them in a minute, but that they are out there peddling some notion that somehow Dr. Harris has already sent over money to pay 10% salary increase in Nevis, but that I, as the Premier of Nevis, have decided not to pay. What utter rubbish. What utter nonsense. In fact, I initially dismissed it out of hand. But then after 2 or 3 people called me and then said to me that somebody in the Treasury in Nevis is saying that the money came over. Well, I said I had to wonder, well, how could money come over to pay civil servants in Nevis and I don't know about it as the Minister of Finance? The cabinet in Nevis doesn't know anything about it. And so I picked up my phone today and I spoke to the head of the Treasury in Nevis. And I said, well, I'm hearing this thing and different people are calling me. So enlighten me. And naturally the treasurer, a woman we all know, said to me, Mr. Brantley, if that would happen, you would know immediately. So I am left to wonder, where on earth is the NRP getting this base propaganda that they're spreading? And in my view, it's simple, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of engaging in propaganda at this stage, let us engage for Nevis. At the end of the day, the people are going to make the choice, you know. The people are going to say they either want NRP or CCM to run the affairs of Nevis. And whatever they decide, I will say, thank you very much. If they tell me, Mark Brantley, adios amigo, I say, thank you, that is their will. If they say, Mark Brantley, we want you to continue, I say, thank you, that is their will. There are some issues that are bigger than CCM and NRP. There's some issues that impact all of us as Nivisians. And sometimes when I hear some of them, I wonder, have they lost their way? Have they forgotten? The NRP is led by the daughter of our national hero, the Right Excellent, Right Honorable Sir Simeon Daniel. A man who made a career, you know what? Fighting for Nivisians. That is what he's best known for. Standing up to Robert Bradshaw and St. Kitts. He is my personal hero. I sat at his feet for many, many years. And you wonder, what has become of his genetic pool? Because you don't hear that now. You don't hear a single criticism being leveled at Bastille for what is happening. You hear their constant attacks on Mark. And you ask the question, well, is this merely a strategy to win an election? Because if it's a strategy, it's a failing strategy. I have had so many NRP supporters call me because I have friends on all sides. One thing about me, I don't make enemies in politics. People decide they want to be my enemy, that's their business. But I have no time in my life for enemies. So, people reach out to me, and some die-hard NRP supporters have reached out to me and they say, Mr. Brantley, you know me, you know I stand and I'm voting for you, RCCM. Yes, my brother, I understand that. But I want you to understand that I support you 100% on this issue. Because Nevis must get what belongs to Nevis. It's as simple as that. It must get what belongs to Nevis. And that really is the core of the problem between the CCM currently and Timothy Harris. Because Timothy Harris believes that he ought not to give Nevis what was agreed. He believes that he ought to come with constant cataflam to Nevisians, like we went to school on Saturday. And he alone bright and he alone understand money. So he comes and tell us foolishness about he need to study. Study nearly complete. He put in a committee together, and the latest iteration, he has invited the World Bank. But you know they're going to take some time because of COVID. Well, as I said on my program last week, I don't see nowhere on my board paper the word Kunumono. Nowhere on my board paper does the word Kunumono appear. And it's high time that the people of Nevis stand up and speak with one voice. But here's the NRP problem. Elections cost money, and they need money. They had some fella running around here talk about he gonna finance them, but he run broke. He bouncing checks up and down the place. So they have a difficulty. Who are they seeking to get money from? Timothy Harris. You hear me? So they cannot come out and speak up for Nevis at this point because they want the campaign money to come. That is the simple fact of what has been happening here on the island of Nevis. In exchange for campaign support, they are prepared to cuss me and cuss CCM, but allow those who are seeking to deny the people of Nevis their rightful share a free pass. That is what's happening. And I want our people to be very, very clear as to what this is about. Now I'm going to pause here. I'm told that the speech that I made was just about 11 minutes. And for those who didn't hear it, I want to play it again. You know why I want to play it again, ladies and gentlemen? Because I find in our country, some people refuse to listen to things for themselves. So the Premier of Nevis makes an address. They don't listen to the Premier making his address. They listen to other people tell them what the Premier said. And when those other people have an agenda, you start to see them starting to cut and paste and try to create mischief. I try when I speak to be very clear. Pellucid, I think that is the word. And so I want you to take a listen. It's only about 10-11 minutes on the mark tonight. Take a listen to the statement that I made on this issue of salaries.
My brothers and sisters, I address you this evening in my capacity as Premier and Minister of Finance for the island of Nevis. As we are all aware, on May 2nd, 2022, the Honorable Timothy Harris declared a 10% salary increase to federal public servants, pensioners, and step workers, retroactive to January 1st, 2022. Our people would know that the Nevis Island Administration is responsible for the salaries, wages, and pensions on the island of Nevis. We also know that it is the usual practice to coordinate efforts between Bastia and Charlestown, so that our public servants and pensioners on both islands are kept on par with each other. This practice, even though not enshrined in law, had developed over the years because we had responsible leadership in Bastia, which understood the need to discuss these matters and coordinate approaches so that the far-reaching fiscal implications could be understood and budgeted for. Sadly, I am to advise that while the issue of salary increases for our hard-working public servants had been the subject of discussions within the federal and NIA cabinets, the announcement made by Dr. Harris as to the percentage and the retroactive payment was done without any discussion with the Nevis Island Administration or with my office as Premier and Minister of Finance for the island of Nevis. It is regrettable that Dr. Harris has taken this approach, as it departs from the practice since independence that such decisions would always be coordinated so as not to disadvantage any public servants or pensioners on St. Kitts or on Nevis. But we understand that this was a decision concerned with political gimmickry, rather than a genuine desire to assist our public servants, pensioners, and step workers. Having lost the support of the elected majority in the National Parliament, but refusing to relinquish the office of the Prime Minister, Dr. Harris is now engaged in seeking to buy the favor of the electorate through elaborate spending of the Treasury with no regard for fiscal sobriety. Even more cynically, Dr. Harris is well aware that he has absolutely refused to send to Nevis its equitable share of national revenues from our Citizenship by Investment program. Our analysis shows that since 2008, the island of Nevis, with 25% of the population of the Federation, has received only 7% of CBI receipts. During that period, more than EC $5 billion has been kept in Bastia for the exclusive use of the federal government, whilst less than 400 million EC dollars has come to Nevis. Dr. Harris therefore knows that the NIA will have to borrow money to pay salary increases, whilst he uses Nivision's money that he has vindictively withheld to fund increases to public servants, pensioners, and step workers on St. Kitts. In a very real sense, Dr. Harris is seeking to leave the people of Nevis without an umbrella, while he has a large tent of savings from our CBI money in St. Kitts. This level of cynicism should be roundly condemned by all Nivisions and by all of our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts as well. But it is not the purpose of this speech to point out the obvious. I am confident that the people of our beloved nation will shortly show their displeasure in the political gimmickry being undertaken by Dr. Harris and his cabal, and will discard them to the scrap heap of our political history. Notwithstanding that the island of Nevis and its finances have been severely negatively impacted by the economic carnage caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and that the island even now is still in recovery mode, I have met with the members of Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration, and we have taken technical advice as to what lies within the fiscal capacity of the NIA to assist our hard-working public servants and our pensioners. To this end, and for the first time in our nation's history, I am to advise that we cannot, on Nevis, follow down a fiscally reckless path which is designed only for short-term political gain without regard for the long-term fiscal stability of our island. St. Kitts cannot dictate fiscal policy for Nevis while denying Nevis its fair share of national income. The Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration, in an effort to avoid further significant borrowing at this time, has determined that with effect from the next payday, public servants and pensioners in Nevis shall receive a 5% increase in their salaries and wages, retroactive to January 1st, 2022. On January 1st, 2023, we shall give a further 5% increase to our public servants and pensioners. On January 1st, 2024, we shall give a further 5% increase to our public servants and pensioners. Put differently, on Nevis, our public servants and pensioners will receive salary and wage and pension increases of 15% compounded over the period 2022 to 2024. This staggered approach will enable the NIA to better manage the increases and allow for better management of the finances of the government. I note for the avoidance of doubt that these increases shall not be extended to cabinet members. This represents the largest ever financial commitment to public servants and pensioners in our island's history, but allows us to implement such increases in a fiscally prudent and sensible manner over time whilst our economy recovers. In addition, we are well aware that our non-established workers have long campaigned for greater security. Many have worked hard to serve Nevis, but because they were never appointed to the permanent establishments, walk away on retirement with a small gratuity but no pension or other benefits. It is hard to imagine that after sometimes as many as 40 years working for the government, our NE workers are left with no pension and no security. In Nevis, again in an effort to coordinate fiscal policy with St. Kitts, we have waited patiently for guidance from the federal government on this critical matter. Sadly, none has come, notwithstanding that legislation was passed in the National Assembly over a decade ago. I believe that our hard-working NE workers in Nevis have been patient long enough. To this end, I am pleased to advise that the Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration has put in place a 3-person auxiliary pension committee to finalize the pension policy for non-established workers of Nevis and provide urgent relief and greater security to them. The details of this policy will be shared shortly as we seek to finally bring relief to well over 1,000 non-established workers in Nevis. This plan, offering gratuity and pensions, will be discussed with all NE workers and shall come into effect on the island of Nevis on September 1st, 2022. Lastly, as we grapple with increasing food prices globally, I am pleased to advise that the Cabinet of the NIA has decided that to cushion the impact on our people, we must take urgent action. Effective Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, and lasting for the period from May 18th to August 31st, 2022, all customs duties on corned beef, pasta, sardines, tea, coffee, bacon, sausages and similar breakfast meats, cheese, chicken, milk, rice, flour, fruits, and meat shall be waived. Customs duties on the various products range from 5 to 25%. We have ensured that customs duties on imported vegetables, imported pork, and imported fish remain so as to encourage our people to buy locally produced vegetables and pork and locally caught fish. Of note is that this relief will be granted to both personal and the commercial importers. I appeal to our supermarkets to pass on these savings to our consumers, and the Ministry of Finance officials will be meeting with supermarket chains in Nevis to ensure that consumers benefit from this initiative in the form of low prices on these basic food items. I also appeal to our farmers and fishers to increase production so as to help us continue to reduce our dependence on imported food and enhance food security on our beloved Nevis. My brothers and sisters, we find ourselves in difficult times politically and constitutionally in our federation. But those difficulties will never deter your government from managing the affairs of Nevis in a sensible and prudent fashion. You elected us to manage Nevis and to do so in the best interest of all of our people. This we shall continue to do despite the turbulence being created by a reckless outgoing leader on St. Kitts. We ask for your understanding and your prayers as we navigate this troubling period in our shared history. I wish you, as always, God's abundant grace and blessings. May His face continue to shine on the people of this land we are so privileged to call our home. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just thought I'd play that again so that individuals who did not hear, or if they heard but didn't listen, they could get the opportunity to do so again. Ladies and gentlemen, let me move on quickly to some other matters. I wanted to talk for a minute about the opponents in Nevis, the Nevis Reformation Party. Why? Because for some reason they appear to be in complete disarray. You would have thought that a party who has, for the better part of 30 years, been in the political wilderness would at least have certain things settled. And I want to address one particular issue. You all would know that the NRP of its own volition decided that it would change its constitution, so we are told, to insist that going forward they will never have the same candidate running locally as the candidate who runs federally. Now, CCM has always had the position that we run our strongest candidates locally and federally. It has always been that way. Vance Amory of blessed memory did it. Malcolm Gishard of blessed memory did it. Gene Harris did it. We ran the same candidate. 9, 10, and 11, and we ran the candidates accordingly. The NRP, I know, engaged in this notion of not running the same candidates because they thought that they could use that to put pressure on CCM. Why? Because they figure they want to get some of the CCM's strongest candidates out of certain of the races. Simple politics. We understand that. But certainly, nobody dictates to the CCM but the CCM. And so they went ahead and they campaigned relentlessly over the last few election cycles on this issue about who getting double salary, who getting two pay, who trying to do two jobs. I remember it's impossible, they said, for anybody to do two jobs. All right? The NRP went ahead and under their new leadership, they declared their candidates. We all know who their candidates are. They had candidate launches and they declared candidates for the local election constituencies 1 to 5. They now are faced with the breakdown of this government due to the actions of Timothy Harris on St. Kitts and are looking at the prospect of a federal election in the near term, certainly by August. And so they're scrambling to find candidates. And I was really astonished when my friends inside the NRP are telling me that those who have been declared as local candidates are now the ones making the most noise to run in the federal election. And I want you to pause a moment for me and reflect that the NRP has been campaigning mercilessly against the CCM, saying it is wrong. It is wrong. CCM is wrong to run Mark Brantley federally and locally. Wrong to run Eric Evelyn federally and locally. Wrong to run Alexis Jeffers federally and locally. And all the noise in the world was made. Can't do two jobs. It's impossible. They're getting two pay. Impossible. And I always pointed out to the public. Joseph Parry ran federally and locally. Sim Daniel of blessed memory ran federally and locally. Ivor Algernon Stevens of blessed memory ran federally and locally. Mr. Swanston, Ural Swanston ran federally and locally. More recently, Hensley Daniel ran federally and locally. Patrice Nisbet ran federally and locally. Roberto Hector ran federally and locally. But all of a sudden it is wrong. It became wrong because the Nivision electorate consistently rejected the NRP. And so they came up with this whole argument that nobody should run because it is impossible for anybody to do two jobs, they say. But look at the situation now. Look at the situation now. That they themselves who have declared that they are the candidates at the local level are the very ones now who are agitating inside the NRP to run locally. And I see their leader put out some foolish statement about nobody gonna tell them who to run. Well, nobody's trying to tell you who to run. You're the one who said so. You're the one who castigated us in the CCM and said we were wrong for running the candidate at the local and at the federal level. You said so. You are now going back and doing the very thing that you have condemned. And what does that make you? And that is the difficulty that I have. Because it's all opportunistic. It's all attempted strategy. That is all. They keep coming up with these harebrained schemes and building a platform on it, attacking decent people who are just trying to do their best for the country. And then when they get hoisted on their own petard, and then come back now and in a set of bluster, nobody could tell them who to run. But nobody's trying to tell you who to run. Because whoever you run, you're going to lose. But my concern is the hypocrisy. Now every day you hear is a different candidate for the NRP. They're floating some names. Like you take a ball, you throw it up in the air and you say, let me see how people respond. And it seems to be based on some of the names that I'm hearing, that they really only have one qualification. Who goes on Facebook and cuss the most? Especially, you get extra points if you cuss Mark Brantley. Because I'm looking at some of the people that I'm understanding names are being called for elections in Nevis, and I'm saying that we have really fallen to some incredible depths. Because when you look at them, they have absolutely nothing that they could point to that they would have done in the community, that they would have done for Nevis, that they would have done in their lives, that you could say, okay, this person here is somebody that we can trust. This is somebody we can put our confidence in. I would remind our people that when people come and knock on your door and ask for your support, they're asking you to put them into a position to make decisions for you, to make decisions affecting you and your life, to make decisions that sometimes will affect you, your children, and children yet unborn. Far-reaching decisions. So you ask yourself the question, when that person comes, are you not entitled to examine them and to say to them, well, what have you done with your life? Why should I have confidence in you that you could make the right decisions for me? Because that's what government does. Every day we sit down in cabinet and we make decisions that impact the lives of our people. So you have every right to say to the person knocking on your door, sir, ma'am, what have you done that I should have confidence in you? Have you involved yourself in some group in the community? Do you champion some cause? Have you been involved in some way? In contributing in some way? Who are you? What have you done? And we have some people who are coming. I heard some statement the other day that somebody made and said, oh, you shouldn't look at nobody's past. Well, my God, if only it were that easy. You mustn't look at people's past. You mustn't look at what they've done with their lives. You must only look at the fact that they come to you and tell you, support me. Put me in a position. That's a powerful reason, because it's a powerful position. It's a position that you're in to make decisions for other people. And so some of the names that I'm hearing, I'm looking and I'm saying, well, what is the qualification? And the only qualification I can come up with is they make plenty noise on Facebook. And that seems to be now all that is required. That if you go on Facebook and you make noise, and then you get a couple likes, because in NRP look like likes equates votes. So if you get 100 likes, you say, boy, 100 vote that, Right? So you get a couple likes. And then you get added bonus in the NRP mind if you cuss Mark Brantley. So if day after day you put out something about Mark Brantley, they say, boy, that's a good candidate. That person could win. Foolishness. Abject nonsense. So at this point in time, the confusion inside their camp continues because everybody's jockeying. And I don't know, and I've never seen so much people jockeying to take blows in my life. When my sisters and I did something wrong, and my mother of blessed memory or my father of blessed memory decide that they're going to administer some licks, nobody wanted to go up front, everybody running, but these here running to take the licks because blows they're going to get. Blows they're going to get. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go to one other point. I want to just say to the public that there's a high level of machinations that are happening in St. Kitts in an effort to steal an election. We have seen, of course, what has been happening in the streets, the electoral office, and the allegations of people trying to bribe people. And I am to say to you tonight that you should not be for sale. And I am persuaded that our people are not for sale. And I say it all the time. For some, they seem to get offended. But I say it because it's the reality. If people come to you and they come with their money, then I have no difficulty. You tell them, take it. In fact, I have said to some of my supporters, see if they get some for me too. See if they get some for me too. They have money to throw away, take the money. But when you go to vote, you vote your conscience. You vote for your children. You vote for your future. Whatever little $500 or how much ever it is they're giving, you say, thank you very much. I could get an extra 5. I have another 2 bills to pay. You could give me 10. Because to my mind, that is what our people need to do. They got money to give away, take the money. I am not going to tell a soul not to take the money. But when you go to vote, let them know nobody can buy you. Now, I received some communication, and I now have the evidence. Because you see, there is a campaign that is happening around us. A campaign at certain levels. Yes, people are registering, they're telling people they're giving them money, what all that nonsense is happening. But there's a campaign happening in certain high offices in the land as well that I am more concerned about. So there is something called the Electoral Commission. And the Electoral Commission is charged under Section 33 of the Constitution to supervise the supervisor of elections. And the supervisor of elections is charged under the Constitution with the job of managing the electoral office, the electoral process, and managing elections. The supervisor of elections currently is Mr. Elvin Bailey, a man of unblemished character. I don't think anybody could criticize Mr. Bailey. His character and his reputation are intact. There's an electoral commission. The electoral commission comprises 3 individuals. 1, a chairman appointed by the Governor General in his own discretion. 2, a member appointed on the advice of the Prime Minister. And 3, a member appointed on the advice of the leader of the opposition. Now the member that was there, who was appointed on the advice of the Prime Minister, was a gentleman by the name of Joseph Liebert, known to us all here on the island of Nevis, former Assistant Commissioner of Police. Joseph Liebert would have today received an instrument under the hand of our Governor General, Tapley Seaton, revoking his appointment. And let me read the instrument. To Joseph Liebert, Esquire, greeting. Whereas by instrument dated the 15th day of November 2017, you, Joseph Liebert, were appointed as a member of the Electoral Commission by the Governor General on the advice of the Prime Minister. In accordance with Section 33(1)(b), And whereas Section 33(3)(c) of the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis provides for the revocation of the appointment of a member of the Electoral Commission by the Governor General acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister. Now therefore, I, Samuel Weymouth Tapley Seaton, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Royal Victorian Order, Queen's Counsel, Justice of the Peace, Doctor of Laws, Governor General of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, acting on the advice of the Prime Minister, do hereby revoke your appointment as a member of the Electoral Commission for St. Christopher and Nevis under the provisions of Section 33(3)(c) with effect from the 12th day of May 2022. Now reflect with me, if you will. 6 elected members went to the Governor General, delivered a letter to His Excellency, say Your Excellency, we no longer support Timothy Harris as Prime Minister. Reflect with me, if you will, that under the Constitution, the person who is Prime Minister must have the support of the elected majority. We provided His Excellency with legal opinion that we had received from Senior Queen's Counsel in London. The Governor General wrote back, I have no such power. That is his view. The same gentleman, Timothy Harris, whom the Governor General knows not to have the support of the elected majority, then goes to the Governor General and says to the Governor General that to avoid a successful motion of no confidence, I want you to dissolve the House. Not only that, I want you to fire all 6 who came and said they have no confidence in me. The Governor General said, yes, I have the power to do that. And so he revoked the appointments. Let me not use big language. He fired 6 of us. 3 elected members from Nevis, 3 elected members in St. Kitts from the People's Action Movement. No power to act on the advice of 6 elected members, power to act on the advice of 1 who had lost the support of the majority. That is his view. That is fine. Here we are now, dated the 12th of May, where again Timothy Harris, having no support in the National Assembly, anywhere close to the majority, because the only people now it appears supporting him are himself, Akila Byron, and Hamilton. Those are the only 1, 2, 3. So again, the 12th of May, hear what we are being told, that I, Samuel Weymouth Tapley Seaton, and all the palaver after that, acting on the advice of the Prime Minister, do hereby revoke. So as far as the office of the Governor General is concerned, Timothy Harris is the Prime Minister. And so Timothy Harris now is saying, I want to get rid of Joseph Liebert from the Electoral Commission. And he has done so. I want to therefore appoint somebody in that position. And we have to now look at the machinations. That's the word I use. Because we are in the throes of an election season. The reality is that the Electoral Commission supervises the supervisor. And it is to the Electoral Commission that the supervisor will turn for guidance and direction. There was no issue about the professionalism and integrity of Joseph Liebert. I can speak because I've had dealings with the gentleman. And I've never heard that there's any issue with his integrity. But he has been fired by Timothy Harris. His appointment revoked by the Governor General. And you start to now see how the plot is unfolding. Because it is at all costs that Timothy Harris wishes to stay in government. All costs. And not just in government, wishes to stay as Prime Minister. So he's now been fired. Why? No reason given. But I believe that they understood that in Joseph Liebert, they have somebody who is fair and impartial, somebody who is professional and clothed with integrity. That's not what Timothy Harris wants. Timothy Harris wants somebody who will do his bidding. And so, when the election now is coming, and we know it's coming, the Electoral Commission now, he hopes he will have somebody here to make decisions not in the best interest of the elections and ensuring a free and fair process, but in the best interest of his party and in his best interest. That is really what this is about, you know. That is what this is about. And I think that it is time for the Chamber, the Bar Association, the Christian Council, and all of them. Never mind that Timothy Harris goes to every church in St. Kitts for a photo op every week. Because I used to think church was for people who go and seek to commune with the Lord. But instead of that, it looks like this entourage that goes around, these busloads with him. That is a fashion show. It's a photo opportunity. So every Sunday morning, I get the messages that come through. This church, that church, the other church, the Tara church. I never hear what the lesson was. I never hear anybody say they were blessed. But I see the pictures saying that we went to church again. The church has itself become now a backdrop for politics. That is all. It has become merely the latest landscape for the politics. So I am hopeful that the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association will speak to matters such as these. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, we fought against these things before, you know. I was a little younger then, but we fought against these things, these machinations, which are calculated to do nothing more than undermine our democracy. Now with an election coming, and you see these kind of moves, where the Electoral Commission is being tampered with, what do you think the objective is? A free and fair election? And the question is for me, at what point do others start to speak up? Because everybody knows, everybody's whispering. Everybody's whispering, everybody's talking amongst themselves. Everybody knows what is happening. And so, I am saying that it is time for people to start to speak up. And not be intimidated and not be cowed. Because that too is a part of the plan and the machination that we're seeing. Public servants are fearful. And I'm saying to public servants, and I say so tonight, you have absolutely nothing to be fearful of. Do your job and be professional. But you know the rules of the public service and do not break the rules for anybody. Because at the end of the day, you might be held to account if you were to break those rules. So do your job and be professional. Be assured and reassured that real unity, the People's Action Movement and the Concerned Citizens Movement functioning together, that we appreciate and respect our public servants. And you have absolutely nothing to be concerned about. We have now this kangaroo committee that is masquerading as a government in St. Kitts. 3 elected and a couple of non-elected people responsible for every ministry in the country, while 8 constituencies in this country are unrepresented in the cabinet. 8. It's a mockery. It's a kangaroo committee. That's what it is. There used to be a poster over here at Von Radio which says cowboys and clowns. Do not be intimidated by them. Do not be intimidated. I hear they're calling in all the contracts. They're calling in everybody. Issuing ultimatums. Need support or else. Do not be intimidated, because you know when the devil was cast out of heaven, Lucifer, he was cast out. The reason why he down here doing so much damage is because he knows his time is short. His time is short. And so he's going about the four ends of the earth trying to do as much damage and to wreck as many lives as he can, because he knows his time is short. Well, Timothy, the band done stop play. The instrument done pack up. The dance done. And you can either leave gracefully, or you can try to mash up the dance hall on your way out. But either way, you're done. And I think that we just need to accept that. You had your chance, given a glorious opportunity. 1 seat, and you were made Prime Minister. 2 seats, and you got the support again to be Prime Minister. And you squandered it because you started to feel that it was all about you when it should have been all about the country. Simple. And now you see these machinations. They can't say that Joseph Liebert was not doing his job, that he lacked integrity. No. But he was fired because they want to put some lackey on the Electoral Commission. So when the bubbles start election time, you have somebody that is going to toe that line. But I'm telling you, and I used to say it a lot on the campaign trail, you see all your fellas out there who have a little girlfriend, she put up with a lot. When she tell you she done, she done. And you could bawl snot. When she says she done, she done. And I think we need to accept that when our time is up, it's up. And all of these machinations to try and extend our time. When we are told that your time is up, well, when your time is up, go along about your business. Go home, go sit down, because your time is up. And it seems to me that there's that difficulty in some of us in understanding that. Now, I said I would speak until 9 o'clock. It is now 9:07. I'll ask you to forgive me. I have one further thing to say. The Concerned Citizens Movement, the party that I'm now privileged to lead at this point in our history, will be launching its campaign, its federal campaign for the federal election. And we will be coming to you in your homes, in your villages, and in your communities. But on this Saturday at 8 p.m. at the Caribbean Cove, we will be officially launching our campaign for re-election in the National Parliament. It will be at 8 p.m. and we will be having a launch and rally May 21st, Saturday, May 21st at Caribbean Cove. We have some music, we have some drinks, we have some food, and we certainly will have the presentation of our candidates at that launch for Nevis, for the defense of our island, for our demand that the people of Nevis get what properly belongs to them. And from that, my friends, we will not resile. People of Nevis will have to decide. Do you want people who will fight for you, or do you want people who are afraid to speak out for you because they're getting some campaign money? What is the nature of the representation that you want? And so I'm inviting all of Nevis to come out this Saturday, May 21st at 8 p.m. at Caribbean Cove, when we will launch our campaign for Nevis, to send a team to St. Kitts Bastille that represents the best and the strongest that Nevis has to offer. A team that has shown that it will stand up. And let me make this clear. A lot of you were out there seeking to characterize Eric, Alexis, and myself. Oh, we're hungry for power and we're hungry for money. We're going to sink it because we're getting double salary. And all these things are being said. We understand it's in a democracy, and a lot of things are said sometimes are not true and not fair. But people say them anyway. And I just want you to reflect that if the three of us who are concerned with salary, and the three of us who are concerned with position, the easiest way for us to maintain that salary and that position was to go to St. Kitts, take whatever treatment Nevis get, and hush our mouth. Anything Tim say, we would have said, yes, 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 Tim, yes, Tim. Yes, Tim, yes, boss, yes, boss. Because our concern was not Nevis, but ourselves. But that's not what we did. That's not what we did. We said we will take a stand, not for ourselves, but for the people of Nevis. Because we are firm in our conviction that that is why the people of Nevis elect federal representatives. And I am proud of my record. People could call me what they will, but I'm proud of my record because when Denzel Douglas as Prime Minister sought to abuse the people of Nevis, I and the CCM stood up and we changed that government and we got a new government and we were part of that new government. And when we saw that the new government was losing its way and going off course, here we are, standing again. Here we are. And I believe that that record of standing up for Nevis speaks for itself. That it is not just when we're in opposition we're prepared to stand. We're prepared to stand in government, even if it means that we lose our jobs temporarily. Here we are, standing up for the people of Nevis. I invite one and all to come to our launch and rally at Caribbean Cove at 8 p.m. this Saturday, as we go now in a formal way to our people to make the case as to why we are the best party to represent you in Bastia. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 11 past the hour. I'm going to open the phones and take some calls. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I urge callers to say what they have to say quickly, firmly, of course, but let us be respectful, as always, because here at Von Radio, only the best will do. Let's go to the phones and say good evening, you're on the mark.
Miss Sheriff, good night.
Good night to you, my dear.
You're strong. I'm glad of you. Because Douglas been done say I got to watch Sheriff. And nobody been believe. But no, we speak for ourselves. Psalm 23, verse 1, 2, and 3. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff will comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Miss Sheriff, let me tell you something. We're going to win the 3 seat. I don't care what they say. Tell them Minnie and Cutie, and I will vote to CCM. Good night.
Thank you, Cutie. Thank you for the scripture, and thank you for the vote of confidence. And I agree with you, because I think Division C who is standing up for them. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you, my dear. How are you?
Thank you for standing up. I am good. Thank you for standing up for Nevis. Thank you for standing up for Nevis. We want we free here.
Could you move away a little from the radio or the computer because you're hearing an echo?
Good night, good night.
Yeah, I can hear you better
Good
now.
night.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for standing up for Nevis. Here for Nevis after all, man.
Well, I don't see why people think that, and you know, people vex with me for saying so, you know?
Let us say what they want, because we're going with the 3 seat. Come what me.
Okay. All right, my dear, thank you so much. And
Good night.
I hope everything is good with you. Good to hear you.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, God bless. We're sticking with the phones. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good night, Mr. Premier.
Good evening to you.
And good evening to everyone else across the planet. Now, for the 2022, we get 46% budgetary increase.
I'm sorry?
We did get 46% budgetary increase for 2022.
46% budgetary increase?
Yes, for 2022.
I don't know. What are you talking about budgetary increase?
I'm talking about money that came over to Nevis for 2022 in terms of supporting Nevis, the NIA.
You're talking about, let me wait.
Let me get a better understanding.
Caller, are you talking about monies that came as part of Nevis's share of the citizenship by investment monies?
I'm speaking about 46% budgetary increase.
Well, I don't know what you're talking
about. That is not difficult to understand.
Well, it's difficult for me because I don't know what budgetary increase you're talking about. I'm trying to get clarity and ask you, are you talking about monies that have come as part of Nevis's share of the CBI monies? Because that's the only monies I'm aware of.
But you do get budgetary increase and support, and as you did ask, right? They did get money the day before time election, as you indicated, right?
No, caller, that is not true.
So, when the people indicate that money came over to Nevis before the PAM convention, that is not true.
No, caller.
Okay.
You have your time.
Problem. One more thing.
Caller, you want a conversation, you just want a chance to talk. Because I'm trying to educate you, but you're not listening.
No, I want to ask you one more thing. We don't get a chance to talk. Okay. How can the people say that the money is being accounted for, that is being sent over there? Whether the 400 million where you say you get at the same percent or the money for 2022. It's important that these issues be debated from U.S. perspective, because you can't just shove them on and you have and just push and spin in the corner, because people looking at it that the money not being accounted. So.
Okay. All right, caller. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, caller. I believe I recognize the voice, and inform yourself before you're calling on the show, because it's a big stage. I'm not seeking to disrespect you in any way, but don't let nobody give you a basket to carry water in. All right? No. The reality is that we have been having a debate now for 7 years, but let me focus on the time that I have been Premier. Since 2017, I became Premier in December, and going into 2018, I started a letter writing campaign to the Prime Minister. Meetings and letters. Prime Minister Nevis needs its fair share. This thing needs to be sorted out. We agreed before God and man in the Charleston Accord that Nevis would get a certain amount of money. Nevis is not getting what was agreed. We went back and forth. He gave different reasons, excuses, all of them. Finance had to do a study. That's the first letter he sent me. When I inquired again about the study, good news, the study is nearly complete. Mind, I know the study was already complete, He doesn't know that I know, but I'll get to that during the campaign. He said the study is nearly complete. He said when he already had it, he told me it's nearly complete. Okay. I wrote again. What's happening? Oh, I have to put a committee in place. Okay. I wrote again. What's happening? Oh, I'm going to ask the World Bank to look at the matter. No, that has been the response. In the interim, we have said, well, since you're taking this time to get the final figures worked out, I don't know why, because I have said a sixth form student could work it out. Nevis is asking for this as an interim measure. And so we went from 2 million a month to 2.5 million a month to 3.75 million a month. And the last thing I wrote to him in January this year, I said I want 5.5 million a month while you work out your maths. And the reason why I came to that figure is because I had sight of the numbers that were coming in. And it would make anybody cry, hold their head and cry when they see the hundreds of millions. As a matter of fact, I like to use hard numbers. So caller, take out your pen and paper. In 2021, the Citizenship by Investment Program brought in $588 million. $588 million. You know how much Nevis got? The same 45. Not a penny more. So that means in 2021, Timothy Harris took $543 million for St. Kitts, and Nevis get 45. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know about others who are listening. But I believe that Nevisians are capable of counting money too. And the reason I was trying to correct your language is because it's foolishness about budgetary support. You're not giving me any budgetary support. You're sending a mere pittance of what Nevis is entitled to. And that is why I want this drilled in. I heard some clip the other night, and anyway, we're going to get to that, where Timothy Harris was meeting with his supporters. And the man had the audacity and the forwardness to say that they're making money down in St. Kitts. And I just keep demanding their money down in St. Kitts. I keep saying I want money. And every dollar he sent Nevis is $1 less for St. Kitts. I said to myself, well, oh, I thought you were the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. I thought you were the man who every speech in Nevis you start, my father is from Nevis. I am a son of a Nevisian father from Cotton Ground. What happened? You forget your father? You forget Cotton Ground? He said in that tape that they are making the money in St. Kitts and I keep asking for more money. And went on to say every dollar he sends to Nevis is $1 less for St. Kitts. Those were his words, not mine. But let us examine the Citizenship by Investment Program. And I want to thank a cousin and friend of mine because he called me the other day and he said to me he's not hearing that argument made. What are we selling to the world? You know what we're selling? Our passport. St. Kitts Nevis passport. What makes that passport valuable? Why is it more valuable than, say, the passport of Zimbabwe or some other country in the world? Because it opens doors for you. It gives you access to countries around the globe without a visa. Who has been responsible for making that passport the #1 passport in all of the Caribbean region? Let me give you a clue. It wasn't Timothy Harris. And so when I hear the argument that St. Kitts making money and Nevis just a keep ask for the money, and every dollar that is sent to Nevis is $1 less for St. Kitts, I said to myself, but if anybody has contributed to the success of the CBI program, it is Mark Brantley and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Because we have added and added and added to our visa waiver agreements to the point where the St. Kitts Nevis passport is now the most powerful in the entire Caribbean region. Only Barbados was ahead of us, and we are now surpassed Barbados. The other countries in the Caribbean offering CBI, St. Lucia, Antigua, Dominica, Grenada, none of them come anywhere close to St. Kitts Nevis in terms of the power of our passport. And it is I and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our hard-working diplomats globally. Since I became Minister of Foreign Affairs in 2015. In 2015, listen, we now can go visa-free since I became Foreign Minister. With the countries that were there, we've added Kosovo, Brazil, Ukraine, the Maldives, Indonesia, Seychelles, Bolivia, Sierra Leone, Kenya, Zambia, Taiwan, Russia, Rwanda, the Gambia, Belarus, Montenegro, Serbia, San Marino, Togo, Albania, Georgia, Paraguay, Marshall Islands, Uzbekistan, Eswatini, North Macedonia, Burkina Faso, Gabon, Palestine, Sao Tome and Principe, Sudan, Tuvalu. Lord, I'm tired. That is the reason why our passport is so sought after. Because every country that we add to the list of visa waiver makes that passport more attractive, more sought after. It's like, I don't want an iPhone. The reason why you want the iPhone 13 or whatever number they have now and not the iPhone 6 is because of the features. It is more attractive. So when he talking about St. Kitts making money, what money St. Kitts making? From what? There's nothing that is being manufactured on St. Kitts. The only thing they're doing on St. Kitts is printing the document. Well, not even printed in St. Kitts. It's printed in Canada, their passport, by the Canadian Banknote Company. But why is the passport being sought after? I did the work. And I said to myself, My ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I go around the world and negotiate. I was in Serbia, and while there, I believe it's either 3 or 4 countries we signed with. And having done all of that work to make that passport so sought after, you then turn around and say to the people of Nevis that you make the money in St. Kitts and all we do is keep asking for money. Them only come and ask for money. They want money. As if the people of Nevis are coming to beg anything. And that is the problem. The fundamental problem that we have in this federation is that the leadership in St. Kitts feels that the people of Nevis are mendicants. That is how we are seeing all this cataflambo father from Cotton Ground. Foolishness designed to fool people, to make people feel that you accept the people of Nevis as part and parcel of the federation. You do not, and that's why you must go. Is that the first time Nevis changed government in Bastia? Sim Daniel did it. Mark Brantley did it once, and Mark Brantley will do it again. It is time and high time that whoever sits in the chair in Bastia sees himself or herself as the Prime Minister of all the people of the country, not some. And so when I hear this foolishness, what you say, those statements were not supposed to come to the public. That was in a closed setting with the key supporters. Thank God somebody tape him and send it out. Because here he is in that setting saying that they're making the money in St. Kitts. And we have to be careful. I spoke to a friend of mine and I said to that person, I said, listen, you know what this is like? You and your brother own a cow. Every morning your brother go out and milk the cow. Sell the milk. And you keep saying to your brother, well, I'm not going to get some of the money from the milk. After all, it's me you own the cow. And your brother keep giving you all kind of excuse. Where you can't get some of the money or you can't get a fair share of the money. And then the brother turn around and tell you, oh, every time you go and make money from the milk, you're bald, but you want some of the money. Well, the cow belongs to both of us. The cow is not your cow. And I don't know why it's so difficult for people to see what we are saying. These things here didn't have to be difficult, you know, they didn't have to lead to the collapse of the government. But I said after 7 years of agitation, and you realize that a man ain't going to move, and he got his supporters them calling and chatting stupidness about budgetary support and budget increase, that we the people of Nevis must make a decision. And I am not going to be apologetic about it. Because when I stand up for the people of Number 9. I stand up for the people of St. John's and St. Paul's. I stand up for the people of the island of Nevis. I'm not going to apologize for doing that. And when they're done with me, they will send me home. And that is okay. But so long as I'm on this stage, I'm going to use my time on the stage to stand up. And that's what we need to do. With the foolishness and the forwardness about every dollar you send Nevis is $1 less for St. Kitts. Like we are coming to beg any money that is being made in St. Kitts. There's no money being made in St. Kitts. We're not asking for any money that Rams and TDC generate. We are saying that this cow, which is CBI, and this milk from this cow, which is billions of dollars, imagine that $5.5 billion. Somebody tell me that that's hard for people to understand. They say 5,500 million. 5,500 million. Imagine you had $1 million. 5,500 times. And out of that, they're making a big noise that Nevis get 400. We don't reach 1 billion. We haven't reached 1 billion. We got 25% of the population in Nevis. We have not reached 1 billion out of 5.5. But NRPP making noise because the paymaster, the new paymaster, is telling them this is what you have to do if you want campaign money. So they're making noise. Oh, 400 million, you get 400 million. What you do with it? What you do with it? Ignoring the fact that St. Kitts has kept 5.1 billion for themselves. These things cannot be right. And I will talk about them all in my sleep. I hope my wife could sleep tonight, because at night time I don't talk in my sleep. Sometimes she nudge me and say, wake up, wake up. I say, what happened? He say, oh, you there say Nevis want to share. Nevis want to share. All in my sleep I saying so. Because I will not stop saying it until Nevis get what belongs to Nevis. And who vex, that is them business. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. We've lost that caller. Callers, please call in. We're taking your calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Mark, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
Mark, good evening. You have to be that you're doing a good job, because one of my NRP friends told me that there's 6 candidates lining up to run against you, and the 6 of them can't make one. But I tell him like this, well, why not you tell them to leave, Mark, and oppose? He said, no, you can't tell them that, otherwise they're going to run them out of the meeting. So, Lord, Mark, so that it got to be doing a good job for Nevis, and continue doing the good job for Nevis. Okay, 6 of them line up to run against you, and the 6 of them can't make one, something got to be wrong. Because the diplomaster over in Sink is really, and I've been told that at least told them this side, if they don't get any slate to run, they'll run in independent.
What? That's what you're hearing?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing from my NRP friend. What the inner them meeting, I tell you.
Why they want to run independent?
Huh?
Why they want to run independent?
The diplomaster is paying well.
I see.
There's money coming in, what is it? Money cooking, boiling and running over.
All right, brother. Thank you for your call. All right. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 1700. We go right back to the phones. Good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. You're on the mark.
Yeah, I would like to get on the mark.
You are on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark. Good night. With all due respect, you ever had a balanced budget? From the time you use Premier?
I've never had a balanced budget, no.
Never had one?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. The budgetary process, caller, as you know, is a difficult process sometimes. I believe that since I've been Premier, we've had, well, I'm not sure. I should have probably asked what you mean by a balanced budget. But since I've been Premier, we've had, I think, a few small surpluses on some of our budgets. But we've also had a string of deficits on our budget. And the last budget was a deficit budget as well, coming out of COVID. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you.
All right. Just a thought. Honorable, just know a leader is a dealer in hope, and you don't need a title to be a leader, because I know you would lead our people to victory and also to the fair share for all divisions. Because of your actions, you inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become better at things that we do in our lives. A good leader leads the people from above them, and true leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. Have a pleasant night, and continue to do your best.
Thank you very much, and I think those words of encouragement are really, really needed right now, and I'm truly grateful to you. I hope you have a good night. I recognize the voice. I hope everything is good in the United States and that you're doing well. It is 25 minutes to the hour. Just to remind everyone that on Saturday at 8 p.m., the CCM launches its campaign with a massive rally at Caribbean Cove. One and all are invited to attend as we bring forth our candidates to ensure that Nevis continues to have strong representation in Bastia. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Mark, good evening. This is DuPont.
How are you, my brother?
I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
You're a champion. You make my whole life feel real good, and all of my efforts that I've been making for many years of my life, because I don't need wealth. You You are a fresh breath of the air to the whole world. Let's go to the Governor General. I cannot believe that the Governor General, such an educated and intelligent man, has brought himself to such a low ebb, to be doing the foolishness that he continued to do. And look what I do with a guy in the circus today in Bastia. A good friend of mine, when he said he's my friend, I don't know if he still is my friend. He told me when I'm on the radio at mornings with my program, I shouldn't say nothing about the governor. I said, you're right, you know. I ain't gonna say nothing. Well, let me tell you, if I live to see tomorrow, I'm gonna spank him with a buckle on my belt. Let's move on. You see what Timothy Harris is telling people in St. Kitts? If you listen to all of them in St. Kitts who follow in Timothy, they got the same tune. And the tune is sweet like Smallocks one. Mark, let me give them one verse of scripture on your program so more people could get a chance. Proverbs 20-29 is the country people's problem who follow in Timothy. I will read it. Have you seen a man skillful at his work? He will stand up before kings. He will not stand before common men. Timothy is a commoner, and he playing a king. But you, and Sean, and me, and everybody who see what Timothy doing, gonna bring him down on election day. Mark, you're a champion boy. I love you bad. Have a good evening. Let somebody else get a chance.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the love and the support, and keep doing what you're doing, brother. I really appreciate it. Let's go back to the phones and take some calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to say good night to my representative. Also, when you come on St. George's locked. My cousin Derangan, God bless his soul, and he left St. George's in good hands.
Yes.
So you'll have to fight for St. John's and the other side. But St. George's is locked. I mean, it never be out here. Can't it, young people? We follow the older folks. When the older folks say lock down, we lock down. So you just take care of the other two seats.
Well, I can tell you that the other two seats lock as well. I wish somebody could call in like how you're calling. Right? We're going to go to St. Kitts with the 3 seats because I think the people of Nevis recognize real representation. As I said, we could have gone down there and kept our mouth shut. Let Nevis get whatever dribble Nevis get, whatever crumbs Nevis get. And we could have gone. We could have said, we are doing better than NRP ever did, and that is true. So let us be content with that. But we said no. That is not what was agreed and what was promised, and we want a leader that is going to keep his promise. And after we realized that Timothy Harris did not have the character, did not have the integrity to keep his promise, we said no, we can't go any further with you. We can't go any further with you. And so what he is exhibiting now is the behavior of a despot, somebody who's desperate. And that is exactly what is happening. And I don't think he's done yet. Not done yet. He's going to do more things. Because, as I said, rather than those around him and those in the highest offices saying to him, this is not right and this cannot be done, they are encouraging and helping and assisting and aiding and abetting. That is what is happening. When I look at this kangaroo cabinet that he has put together, you think the people in there don't know what they're doing is wrong? Huh?
Yes, they know. They know it is wrong, but they don't care.
Well,
because
I don't know if they don't care, you know.
The money, the love of money.
Now I think you get it.
Things people don't like us.
Right?
Because we're looking for something just for day. If Bible say, you go across the water and you find many days after, but they don't look at that. But we need it. As I mentioned to them, we're going to stand behind you once you're fighting for Nevis, and the whole Nevis is going to be behind you. Whether NRP or CCM, you will have the troop behind you. You have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking your calls. We have 20 minutes to go. Good evening. You're on the mark. No? 869-469-16. Let's go. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Yeah, good night. Again, don't care how much money you get because from here, you're going to already be borrowing because you just spend minutes money too bad. Honestly speaking, right? And on top of that, the money when you get this year, you could be able to pay the 15% one time. They don't for the people then. Don't think it.
Alright.
Share the money. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Then. Don't got no problem with what I say.
No, I mean, I have no problem. I just...
And get personal in terms of the support from people who don't support what you're saying. Because it's important that you spread that kind of message that you don't get personal with people. Yes, that's because somebody said something that you get personal.
Carla, I'm not getting personal. I'm simply saying that this is a big stage.
Because you're targeting the person who you might say, well, the person supporting the Prime Minister. Excuse me. That is not something that I think you're supposed to be expressing on the radio.
Okay. All right, Carl. Thank you very much. I just want to tell you, Carl, as I said, I know you well. I don't mean to disrespect you. But as I said, this is a big stage. And on this big stage, people come to discuss big ideas. You have come twice now, and I'm not sure who's sending you what. But tell them call themselves rather than you calling. Because at the end of the day, a couple of people don't start to text me here and telling me, you don't know what you're talking about. Inform yourself. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to have a debate that makes sense, inform yourself before you start the calling. Right? Because you're saying we're spending the money by the Nevis. What do you know about Nevis and how Nevis spends money? What do you know? The first call you talk about budget increase, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't understand the terminology. So inform yourself. That doesn't mean that there have to be any argument between you and I. We understand you have a job to do. We understand that you feel that, this is where you have to be and this is what you have to say. But in time, I believe you will come to a different realization because you're on a horse right now that is going out the door. As I tell you, the band don't stop play. Smarlocks don't shut off, Don't shut off. Amplifier don't turn off. The truck now moving out with the equipment and you're still on the floor so you dance. What you dance for? The dance done. And if you can't see that, and I know you're a sensible fella, then I don't know what else to tell you. So, not let them send you a call in the radio because these are big shows. And on big shows, what I'm going to say tomorrow? Lord, the boy they call and he don't nothing what you say. Right? Let them call in themselves. Because what you have called in to say so far shows that you have not prepared yourself for a forum like this. So again, you're my friend. I don't mean to disrespect you, but inform yourself before you call in here. Because this ain't a little show. This ain't a small show. This ain't a show where anything goes. This is a show that big people listen to debate big ideas. Let's go back to the phones. We have 16 minutes left. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good night, Mr. Mark. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Don't study with us film there. Don't worry that. That's the job all the time. I was calling and says you can saying those things to make the government feel good. Right? There's someone came into the and said, Nevis should be by themselves. I said, no. 1980, I was running up there, they run up to y'all and ask to help. Y'all were by yourself all the time doing your election. I was up there, over there, right all in the 90s when they have Nevis election. You can't even tell when system and people guy running the election. I don't know, they don't get the facts right. You all in trouble with them. Is them troubling with you all? So now they want to pay the duty, give up the duty, do the duty. They're blaming you. I said today that they got the money. The reason why they didn't want you all in the cabinet what money they have. Because they want this money to float around. You see, that's why they could come now and say, because that's where it come from, go build a bank. Or put a bank over there. Mr. Brantley. Now we are these big people, right? If it is a development bank down in town already, why were you going to take one to the country? Remember, I was on the pasture, when you all launched the night, and the meeting were going on was up by the grammar school first. Then you all went over by the big pasture of Greenland. And when people are asking, there's a bank in Sadler's closed on. You are going to open me back up? He kind of get a little chicky dilly in there and never give form. Everybody was looking for the bank to open up. Afterward, I don't know that not gone onto the bus. So now what bother me, Mr. Brantley, for you all, them 2 elections, 15 and last year 4, right? And I want to know, why you got to carry man sense alone could tell you. You ain't got to go to high school. Why what the reason a bank, a development bank, a government bank, quite over at least for man, it looking fishy. And what a lot of people can't say, they just talking, Mr. Brantley, because again they had grease. When I finish talk, they'll call in and cuss me, but I ain't studying with them. I used to hire people. Yes, I get them to finish my house, but I used to hire people, and on the paper of Social Security say you're paying housing levy. So I ain't feeling away. Let the cost. I talking the truth. I got to call into them and say, no. Nevis never disturb you. It's your all disturbing them. And if I tell you who we're talking, he lights always cut off and he's down there selling drinks out of corner. I don't know. They don't want the government go because what they get in. Mr. Brantley, if you come now here because you walk to do, you're saying Central Street, I never see that deal. You got to book your name and go, you're going money going things happening along here like a drunken sailor. As well the guy, Mr. What you name the singer time? Drunken sailor, man, and a powder and all in your face. Man, this thing ain't gonna work. All I want you all to do, up there do the right. My grandfather come out. My father and mother come out to Nevis, and my grandmother come out to Nevis. So, I love Nevis. And you know what gonna happen if we go to session? Then the hot bath up there, you can't come and go in it as I like. We'll have to pay a certain amount of money to go in it. So I don't know what happened. It look like a fool and the money runs so the part. I mean, when Kayan just now, over by the launching of the PAM, the candidate for Kayan, the past some people there, Mr. Brantley, I can't believe it. After 7 going to 8, they're still there. They're like a PLP soak hurricane. You know, when the hurricane comes in, it says circulating, it's torching in there. That's a soldier. But they got to set up. The Keys is a little small village. And I bought 10. I left them. We're going wrong. Then tell poor people ain't dumb, Money, when the money don't want to happen. Coming back balling to people who could secure them. Okay then.
All right, my dear, thank you for the call. Really appreciate it, and you keep doing your best, okay?
Yeah, man.
All right. It is 11 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. Just to remind listeners again that this Saturday at 8 p.m. at Caribbean Cove, the Concerned Citizens Movement launches its campaign, its federal campaign, to send strong representation to Bastille. Let's go back to the phones and say good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Mark?
Yes, you're on.
I have an announcement for the people in St. Kitts to come up on Saturday. I need 22 names or 36 names by Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock. They can book the names at DuPont store. You don't have to pay any money. We come in time for 8 o'clock, and whenever your launch is finished, I'll bring them back home. I'm spending $20,000 to $40,000 to lift the campaign between us. Me own money. I don't beg people money. So I am announcing it on your program that Kittitians who want to go over to Nevis, serious people, to be a part of your launch on Saturday. I have a boat organized just now. One hole 22, one hole 36. If we get 22, we gone. If we get 36, we gone. So I'm just making this announcement that Kittitian loving PAM people who want to see peace and love for Nevisians, I am home now and are ready to book names. They got to be serious. because I just arranged the boat and I just arranged the price. Have a good evening, Mark.
All right, thank you very much for that, and we look forward to seeing you. And we know you're going to get more than 36, so at least the 36 people we expect to see on Saturday as we launch at 8 p.m. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Greetings and love and respect to you, Honorable Premier. How are you doing? Good night.
Greetings, my brother. It is good to hear your voice. I'm well, thank you.
Blessed love and honor. And good night to your listeners via radio and internet. I would just like to emphasize on something how you speak and giving you details towards of some of the things that are taking place in the political spectrum and within the aspect of what we see come from within, as you said, the Governor General and how the aspect of the Prime Minister, all is taken towards how the Constitution is played out, as how we're seeing right now in the rulership play. Now I would like to ask, seeing how these things are implementing at this time, when you all do go to this poll, will you all able to, and whenever whoever party or what administration taking to the stage of good governance, will you be able to see that the challenge takes on the grounds of constitutional reform? This is a question put forward to you.
Yeah, well, I think that absolutely constitutional reform has to be top of the agenda now, because we have witnessed with the recent shenanigans that there is a serious constitutional issue here. And that issue has to do with the fact that the Constitution requires that the person who is Prime Minister has to have the support of the elected majority. We are being told that a man who has clearly lost that support still is continuing as Prime Minister and making profound decisions impacting the country as Prime Minister. And the head of state is saying his hands are tied, he can do nothing. So yes, I agree that it is time that we put this front and center. I know that people have talked about it for decades and nothing has been done, but I believe that these experiences now show that we have to improve and we have to make things better. I will tell you that when the motion of no confidence in the Douglas administration was held in abeyance for over 20 months, we responded to that by passing the necessary legislation to require that it comes within 21 days. And that is the only thing that has saved us right now, because Timothy Harris would have done the same thing and not allowed the motion to come to the Parliament. But because the law requires 21 days, he had no choice. And the Speaker, who was honorable in all this, said this motion would come, and that is why he dissolved the Parliament and say he fired people, because he knew that the very day that he made his speech that the notices for the House were being sent out, and he would have become the first Prime Minister to have been removed through a motion of no confidence. He didn't want that, so he took a different route. But I'm saying that those are the things, because imagine one man to hold on to his position is putting the entire country through this. We could have been continuing peacefully here, doing the right thing, developing the country, recovering from COVID. Just today, I'm hearing that Nevis had 14 cases of COVID today. It means that COVID is still around. We still have to be vigilant. We are not past the COVID yet. We're still having to deal with these situations. And that is what our focus should have been. But he's still on the stage dancing, even though the music stopped playing, the band done gone home. And that is the problem that we have. So I agree with you, constitutional reform has to be first and foremost on the agenda for any new administration.
And I would like to emphasize another thing, basically. When we look at this here in the farmer, the young generation must have a clear view in understanding what constitutional reform will be able to bring to the change that they're seeing at hand, because we don't want to see this here mess coming the next 20 or 40 years after. Because we really see it. I'm not a supporter of republic neither, you know, because I see all the countries who are republic, we see in the same format, just as like people who are capitalists and even communists. These are the same formality we see going in years and years and years, and we're not seeing the development of the people striving. But we are seeing here, you know, economic growth and how stable we have infrastructure coming out, kind of business investors, but you're still seeing that our people are left vulnerable in the long run. We need to stand firm in how we're going to stable ourselves in sustainable development and in the way we're seeing the challenges coming along, because a lot of things still have coming in phases of challenges, but we're not tackling them because we're only looking at seeing how we can benefit. We're not looking for benefit, we're looking for sustainable, so people cannot be begging and be looking at no help of handout.
Okay.
Let us stand for equality and justice. You have a safe night.
All right. Good, brother. Thank you very much for the call. Very enlightening, and thank you. I do believe constitutional reform is now a priority. Let's go back to the phones. We have 5 minutes left. Let's take your calls. Good evening. Hello? Hello? Okay. Let's try this caller. Caller, good evening. Hello?
Good evening. Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
Brother Mark. Brother Mark.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes,
Caller? Hello?
Yes, I just want to say something here, Brother Mark. I commend you and Sean Richard. I commend you and Brother Sean Richard, who stand up and stand for integrity. And I want to let you all know that don't let no one detour you all, because you all stand for something. You all stand for something. We have a bad habit to let one man to run the whole show, and that is not good. So continue, keep on keeping on, Brother Mark. You must remember, it's the People's Action Movement who bring all these programs and initiatives to the table that we are living on and still feeding on. People talk about Dr. House is so great and we bring them the initiative to the table. The same thing that the People's Action Movement put there, and the same thing Douglas work on, the same thing he work on. So no matter what, is the People's Action Movement that bring things to the perspective where they are. So we got to give them kudos to that. You understand? And we got to hold on. You understand? We cannot just let people fool you every Sunday. You want to go to church. The same thing down here in Tatula. I can't come to Tatula here. The same thing the family leader here was used to go to church every Sunday. I was calling Jesus' name, making a charade of themselves. You understand? And I try to deceive people. And people who say they're Christian, and let these people deceive them. And the Bible said, let no man deceive you. That is first thing Jesus warned you for the last days. Let no man deceive you. So keep on keeping on, Brother Mark, and let the people know and tell the people the truth. You understand? Because you are telling the people the truth, and the whole people open the understanding and listen to you all. Because you all are doing good things. Only one man rule and try to sugarcoat things with money. You understand? So let us keep on keeping on, Brother Mark, and continue. You all doing a good job. Continue to keep up the good work. I'm listening, and people also listening. And people also get disappointed in the Prime Minister. So continue, and a pleasant good night, sir.
Thank you very much for that, and I truly appreciate it. We have 2 minutes. We can probably take one final call for the evening. If you want to be our final caller, 869-469-1616 and 469-1700. Just as a reminder that this Saturday at 8 p.m. at Caribbean Cove, the Concerned Citizens Movement will launch its campaign. In a huge rally, we will present our candidates and our message to ensure that the island of Nevis has the strongest possible hand and the strongest possible representation in Bastia. We have demonstrated when we were in opposition, and we have continued to demonstrate even now that we were in government at the federal level, that nothing, absolutely nothing, no personal interest stands above the interests of the people of Nevis. And if it means, as it has meant, that we were terminated from our jobs in Bastia, then so be it, because we know that the people of Nevis will send us back, and those who purported to terminate us will ultimately be the ones who will be relegated to the scrap heap of political history in this country. So have no fear. Please come out in your numbers and let us show the power of the Concerned Citizens Movement. Let us show the power of the people of Nevis as we stand together to ensure that this island has the best, the strongest possible representation in Bastia. That is what we need. People you can trust to stand up for you. People who do not put their self-interest above yours. People who stand up firmly for the island of Nevis. We don't care who it is sitting in Bastia. You can be assured that we will stand. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our simple message. It cannot be right that in a situation where St. Kitts and Nevis is earning money from a citizenship by investment program, selling our passport, a passport that through my efforts is the strongest in the Caribbean. that St. Kitts will get $5.5 billion, 5,500 million, and Nevis gets 400 million. And people say that's fair. And what you make noise for? Take what you get. Or according to Timothy Harris, we make the money down in a St. Kitts and he just up there asks for money. We have to do better. This is Mark Brantley signing out. Please come join me on Saturday at Caribbean Cove, 8 p.m. It will be a massive night and a night to remember. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company